Hi guys, my name's Jake. I went to the Canterbury Regional yesterday and I topped with Chimera Fiendsmith. I went X1-1 after 7 rounds and got 6th place, which I'm really happy with because I really like this deck. Thought I'd just do the deck profile for you guys. Before I go into it, just for anyone interested, for my matchups, I played Memento round 1, which I won. Azamina, White Forest, Fiendsmith round 2, which I won. Pure Odium round 3, which I won. Blind Second Murmur round 4, which I drew. Fortunately, game 3 I had the win, just needed to attack, but there's only a few seconds left and my opponent could use a Bish Shrine Engrave to stall basically, which is legally stall, it's fine. So I got the draw, but that was fair enough. Maybe could have played a bit, probably should have scooped earlier in game 2, but you learn. Round 5 I played Ubel Fiendsmith, which I won. Round 6 I played Sky Striker Tempire, which I lost. Fortunately, in game 3 I went first and opened Double Ash, Double Droll Imperm, so I just hard bricked and he won. And then round 7 I played Pure Math Mech and I won that. So yeah, great day overall. And I guess we'll just get straight into the deck profile. For the main Chimera engine, 3 Cornfield. Cornfield, this is the rotor. Obviously you want to max out on it for consistency. Gazelle, like the best normal summon in the deck. 2 Mirror. You could play 3, but so it feels like a lot of normal summons because this effectively is just a normal summon. So I didn't want to have too many normals, so I just went with 2. And then obviously the 1 Birthmert, you don't need to play 2 in this deck, and you might brick more if you play 2. And then you also play 3 Nightmare Apprentice. This card's really good. Obviously it's just more engine, searches illusions, so it gets you to your Gazelle through Cornfield. And I also play the 1 LZ to search off Nightmare Apprentice. This is basically just an illusion extender. The reason I like it is because it makes it sure there's less redundancy with like your illusion searches. Because Gazelle, when it's fugitive, you can search an illusion, but let's say you've already opened Nightmare Apprentice, all this can usually search is just another Cornfield or Mirror, which you might have already gone through for your normal summon. So you can grab this, so you've got another body you can extend with. And then the other thing I like about it is in some game states, I do play the Fiendsmith engine, you can, let's say you normal summon Mirror Sword Knight, use the effect, and they ash it. Normally, if you don't have the Fiendsmith engine and you have her, you're still going to pass. You haven't really got much you can do. You don't have Chimera Fusion, but what you can do is you can special her, add LZ, special LZ, make Moon, and you just do your Fiendsmith combo. So I think she's definitely worth the 1-off slot in the deck. And then I also play the Azamina Fusion, Azamina Soul, which I'll get to later when I get to the extra deck. So I think overall, I think it's worth the slot. So that's the Chimera engine. Other than the Chimera Fusions, and then also I play the Evil Hero package, which is basically mandatory in this deck. The combos that you just go into Birthmert, you send the Sinister Necrum, you banish this from the grave, special a Dusty Gold, it's a light fiend, and you do the Fiendsmith combo. And what's also quite nice is this is level 5 fiend, so in some cases if you've already opened Chimera Fusion, you can actually search it off Gazelle. Yeah, it's a really good package and it's definitely mandatory. And I also actually play the Dark Fusion as well, just to have more ways to fuse, because in this deck, as long as you can fuse, you can play through like 1 hand trip or 2. And what this means is instead of just having 3 ways to fuse, because I don't play the Patchwork engine in this deck, with the Chimera Fusions, you effectively now have 5, because you have, this is number 4, and then this can search this, so that's basically 5. And in some cases, if you open a handful of monsters, including like Fiendsmith, like Engraver or Tract, you can actually search for this and then search for the fusion spell if you want to. So I think this is the 1-off slot. And then onto the Fiendsmith engine. I'm not going to talk about this because everyone knows what it does. Very standard ratios. 3 Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Lurry, 2 Tract, Paradise. Yeah, no explanation needed. The engine's pretty cracked. And then onto the non-engine. I had 30 slots for 13 non-engine. So I just went with like the best cards really, like Foova and Droll. These obviously just blowouts that, 1-off blowouts that can really prevent your opponent making a big board, or if they do try to make a big board in this, you want to draw a lot of cards so you can play into their board well, and then Droll is just really good right now. Because we don't have the room for 18 to 20 hand traps, so you can't really play weaker hand traps like Vela and even Ash I don't main. So that's why I play these cards. Also play Book of Eclipse. I think it's a good breaker in general, and when you're going first it's really good because the normal summon is a bit of a choke point in this deck in terms of the Chimera engine. You can usually play on them doing Fiendsmith plays, but if you have a normal summon, like normal summon Gazelle, when you don't already have Chimera Fusion, if they stop the Gazelle, then there's not really much you can do in terms of your Chimera package. So I play Book of Eclipse. So yeah, for a breaker and to defend against Vela Imperm. And then I also play Imperm myself, and the talents as the last slot. This could have been droplets. It was kind of a toss up between the two, but there's not really a right or wrong. But I went with Imperm just because I felt like I wanted to stop my opponents more on their turn, especially with like the Mulch armies. I do play more on the side. That's good to like rip into, and it's not once per turn. And with droplets as well, a lot of the time the monsters you want to negate, you want to see the monster so they can't respond. Because it's a fusion deck, you want your monsters to fuse with, and when you're breaking a board, it's almost like every card matters. So I prefer Imperm, but it's definitely like 50. There's not much in it really. So if you want to play droplets, you can definitely play droplets. But I went with Imperm and I was happy with it. So and then talents, obviously talents are talents. So that's the main deck. You get your fusions. So your Chimera, the one Chimera, which is the hand rip one Berthmer. I would love to play 2 of this. The extra is so tight, and I was kind of hoping they'd ban Moon so I could play a second one of this. But the second one would be nice for the grind game, or for a very long grind game. Grind game would be ridiculous with a second Berthmer, but it's not absolutely needed. And usually, if you full combo game one, not game one, on turn one, you're usually too far ahead anyway. So the second one rarely comes up. And obviously, Guardian Chimera, Magnum, and Azamina Soul. Just to touch on this, so the Elzet can only fuse into Azamina's, and what's quite nice is, although she's already an extender, I've been testing this and it's quite nice because it's a generic fusion that's Fiend and Illusion. So Elzet's the Illusion, so it's this and any Fiend, and you have tons of Fiends in your deck, especially with the Fiendsmith engine. And basically when it's summoned, you target card on the field sent to the graveyard. And it's quite good when you're breaking a board to you put it's like a nice extra push to remove a card. And then what's quite nice is you in the standby phase this can add back Azamina cards, so you can actually target the Elzet, add it back to hand. So then you've got a monster in hand to fuse on their turn into Guardian Chimera Magnum, because a lot of times when you're breaking a full board, you kind of have to exhaust your whole hand, and then this allows you to get that monster back in hand to make these 2, and it does come up quite a lot. Like a nice interaction is you go sequence into Desiree, which I'll show the cards in a second, but you go sequence into Desiree, summon the Elzet, and normally you could go Little Knight, I do play that as well, to remove a card, which is nice, and Little Knight's obviously a good card, but if I have Chimera Fusion still for their turn, and then I don't have a monster in hand, but Chimera Fusion is dead. Whereas if you can go summon Elzet, fuse with the sequence into this, you send the card, then you equip the sequence, go to their turn, standby phase, you add back Elzet, and now when you fusion summon, you can either make Magnum or Guardian Chimera, which obviously that's really strong as it is, being able to do that by adding back the Elzet, but also if you fuse away with the Desiree sends as well. So if you go into Guardian Chimera, that's 3 cards removed, on top of the negate you've done with Desiree as well. So I think it's worth the slot. And then one other thing about it is this is the only fusion interruption out of these 3 being the main interruptions, but you don't need a monster in hand. And sometimes when you go for like the turn 1 combo, you discard for Nightmare Apprentice, you discard for a Baoku, and let's say you might have 1 or 2 cards spare at the end of your turn, but usually it'll be like Book or Imperm, which you set, and then you could have Droll, and then usually you want to Droll them. You don't want to use it as monster material because Droll's very strong. So what this means is I would try and make sure I end with an illusion somewhere on the field. Usually Berthmer will reborn Nightmare Apprentice, and then that way, even if I have no monsters in hand, my Chimera Fusion is still alive to interrupt them. So yeah, I think this is actually quite a good card, personally. And then that's the fusions. And then Fiendsmith, I play the Moon. For what I said earlier, if your normal summon gets stopped and you've got Apprentice, normally you can't do anything if you don't have a fusion spell, whereas now you can just, your normal summon Gazelle gets negated, summon Apprentice, and then just make Moon do Fiendsmith plays. So I think it's worth keeping him for that reason. And then Requiem, Sequence, Desiree, Necrogrip, DDD, Aerolita. It's quite nice in this deck, because obviously you play a Fiend based deck, so you can dump things like the Berthmut to then go into a Baoku to reborn that. And then you can also dump, if you haven't already started with the Evil Era package, you can, let's say you start with the Fiendsmith package, you can dump the Necrum and then go into that to go into a Baoku, or do various plays that way. Then Chaos Angel, it's already very easy to make with the Fiendsmith engine, but in this deck you also have a few level 6 Darks in the Azamina fusion, and also the Nightmare Apprentice, and then Mirror Sword Knight is also a level 4 light, so Nightmare Apprentice is a 1 card light and dark Chaos Angel. And then not to mention, once you've got this in rotation, you can do some nice plays where once it's in grave, you can reborn it with the Chimera guy on your opponent's turn to banish, or you can go into Little Knight, and then banish it in your graveyard, and then the Berthmut could bring it back. Or even if it's on field and you've Little Knighted something, you can go Little Knight, banish one of their monsters. You can banish this and then bring it back with a Berthmut for another interrupt. So yeah, Cassandra is just really strong. And then last two cards are just Little Knight and a Baoku. Little Knight is just obviously a very good card in general. You could play like second Berthmut over this, but I wanted to keep the floor of my deck higher instead of the ceiling. I wanted to maximize, keep the floor higher, and then even if the ceiling is a little bit lower, I just think this is really good. And you get in simplified game states, you just can't really go wrong with Little Knight. And not to mention those interactions where you go through the Berthmut, so the Berthmut obviously respawns from banish, and you can just banish anything in your graveyard, and then in your opponent's turn, you can bring it back. So I really like the Little Knight. And then the Baoku, obviously you play a deck full of Fiends, so you can link up into her, and you usually make her when you kind of do like the full combo. It isn't a 1-card combo, but the ideal end board is you end on like Wave King, you have a Baoku and EMZ, and then what you do is you reborn either Mirror Sword Knight in grave, or this would be obviously you started with Gazelle, not Mirror Sword Knight, but reborn Mirror Sword Knight or the Berthmut, and then you make them again. You bring back your special Berthmut, basically add your Chimera Fusion and your Gazelle, and then you make this one, and then the Berthmut effect will bring back the Nightmare Apprentice. So then you've got your Illusion and your Fiend set up for the Azamina Soul in case you have no monsters in hand to make Guardian Chimera Magnum. And then you've got, at that point, you've got Lacrima Requiem in grave, Chimera Fusion set, you've ripped a card out of their hand, you've got a Baoku, Wave King, and you've got a Mirror Sword Knight and Crotal for the Chimera, because that will be on field, so you've got that in the gate. At that point, you just got too much, so you should always win, basically. But yeah, that's the extra deck. I'm pretty happy with it. And then lastly, just the side deck. So we've got 3 Artifact Lancia for Manis, to respect them. Mulch armies, they're just really strong. Not really too much to say, but in I feel like in Chimera, especially, like if you have like a big hand full of monsters, a Chimera Fusion, and maybe 1 or 2 board breakers, it feels like you can break pretty much any board, and it feels like super strong. So yeah, the Mulch armies were great for me. And then I played Typhon side in, just because Typhon's really good, but obviously the extra X too tight to main, like to put it in the main. So I usually side out a Baoku, because when you're breaking the board, it's hard to still have the resources to then go on to make a link for as well. It's probably only been 1 or 2 times ever where I actually wanted to make a Baoku go in second and couldn't because of Typhon. But Typhon's really good, and also if you're getting some weird simplified game state and you've got a Chimera Fusion, you can obviously slap this on something, bounce a monster, attack over something, and this is a Fiend, so you can actually fuse with it with Chimera Fusion, because Chimera Fusion does say you have to use a Fiend or a Beast. So if I slap this on something and I've got Peruria in hand, I can still fuse with this and this to make Magnum, because this is an extra deck monster. So yeah, Magnum's just a really good card, and obviously you still want to respect Ryziel, so that's why I played that. And then going first cards, I played 3 Ash and Called By, just to stop, mainly to stop Fever Loss, because that is a bit of a problem for this deck. It doesn't like kill you entirely. You can do some plays where you just end on like a Berthmut, dump Mirror Sword Knight, have a Chimera Fusion set. Hopefully you've got like a non-engine in hand as well, it's okay, but Fever Loss does hurt the deck, there's no like denying that. So that's why you play these in the Call By. And then Ash is also just a very good generic card. I'm not going to go too much to Ash. It's Ash, it's just a safe pick. I just needed something for going first, because obviously where I main the Fever Loss, obviously I don't want to be playing Fever Loss going first. And then my last card was the End of Anubis. I was playing the one of Chaos Hunter when pre-ban list, and basically what's nice about, similar to this with Chaos Hunter, is that they're Fiends, so through your combo you can dump them with Aerolita or the Berthmut, depending on what you're open, and then you link climb and you go Little Knight, banish this, and then you go into Abaoku, you do your plays, and then in grave, when you detach off your Wave King, your Berthmut, usually that would be how you detach it and get it in grave. You can especially summon this back. And the reason I played this is now that Dweller's banned and Shifters at 1, I just thought there might be more rogue decks, graveyard-based decks like Tear Elements, Unchained. There's probably a lot more that I'm not thinking of, but even it's good against Mermail and even Fiendsmith. And what's nice about this as well was that its effect says that while it's face up on the field, the effects of cards in the graveyard and effects of type cards in the graveyard are negated. So if your opponent activates a card in the graveyard, you then chain Berthmut and then summon this. That card will be negated, so it doesn't have to be on field before it's activated. So yeah, it's basically like a Dweller on eggs if it sticks, and I thought I'd test it. I put it in against Mermail. Fortunately, he had the impulse for this. So in the game, this is the game I drew. So but he did say if this had hit the field, he would have lost immediately, because you can't play under it. So Yeah, it was a toss up between this and Diabells, but not enough people playing like evenly in droplets and stuff and breakers right now. So I think this is the better call. And it's easier to kind of get into rotation with the Aerolita because Diabells is not Fiend, so you can't send it off that. So yeah, it could be any going first, any floodgate sort of monster, but I think this is the best one. You know, Dweller's banned for a reason. This is basically Dweller. So yeah, but that's it really. That's the whole deck profile. I'm really happy with the deck. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, not much else to say. Cheers.